Felix Temporum Reparatio, the restoration of the successful times. Whether you were cleaning a bunch of Roman coins, buying one from a junk bin, or shopping around for some nice, affordable, beginner coin to start your collection, you must have seen that striking scene. A Roman leaping in the air, shield in one hand, spear pointing down on the other, and at the nasty end of that spear, a poor barbarian and his horse fall on their face and beg for mercy. Why is this coin so common? Why is it so violent? Today, we're delving deep into a single coin. Let's learn how much information can a common coin contain about the time it was minted at, and how it can show us about a later Rome, a Rome much different than the one we see in most movies. Let's go! Let's get some temporal context here. The year is 348 AD. Constantine the Great passed away a decade ago, and his two sons, Constans and Constantius II, ruled the empire. The late Roman Empire is monetarily very convoluted, full of monetary reforms and debasement of the coinage. Always, of course, aimed at trying to squeeze a little bit more money to the state coffers. This year was not different. The two brothers instituted a reform to the small change, the smaller bronze coins, creating three new denominations: a 5.3 gram coin with 2.5% silver, a lighter coin of 4.3 grams and 1.5% silver, and the smallest one, a 2.5 grams and no silver at all. What did these coins have in common? The reverse legends: Fel Temp Reparatio, or Felix Temporum Reparatio, in unabbreviated Latin. Their father was credited with the stabilization of the empire, so this new coinage had a very clear slogan: the good times are here again, it's business as usual, let's all rejoice. All these new coins came in 5 different reverse types. So we have the phoenix rising from the ashes on top of the world, the emperor riding a galley being steered by the goddess Victory, a scene of the emperor dragging a captive from a hut, the emperor holding a military standard and stepping over 2 captives, and finally, the most common of them all, the so-called fallen horseman. So let's jump right into our coin here. This is the largest denomination we have here in my hand. This particular example weighing around 6 grams, so slightly overweight. The obverse of all of these coins was pretty much the same, with small variations in style. We have the bust of the emperor, in this case looking right, wearing the imperial diadem. The legends: Dominus Noster, our Lord, Constantius, Pius, Felix, pious and well-fortuned, Augustus, Emperor. The reverse is where we get a very interesting glance on what the world was like in the 4th century. First and foremost, how incredibly violent it was. A soldier in the act of killing an enemy. I mean, the ancient world was a very violent time, of course, but even for the Romans, this was a rather extreme design. Militaristic designs were always common on Roman coins, but they always showed a hidden, an implicit threat of violence, not the explicit act of hurting someone. Very rarely such a thing happened. This was the result of nearly 2 centuries of constant violence in Rome. There were stable times along these 200 years, of course, but since the start of the 3rd century, the majority of emperors met violent ends. Rome engaged in as many internal conflicts as it did with external enemies. The Senate was all but irrelevant, with the emperor and the generals having the real power, and the state institution itself, the Roman so-called republic, basically became something akin to a mix between a military dictatorship and an autocracy. Violence became a part of politics, and in many cases, the first and only way of getting to the top. So, we already know we lived in very violent times then. That is certain. So, let's explain the actual scene here. We have a Roman soldier, or some argue virtus, the incarnation of the Roman virtue of manliness, leaping into the air, shield in one hand, spear in the other, thrusting on a fallen horseman. Some of the best engravings of the fallen enemy in the coin are said to be actually consistent with what real Roman enemies would wear into battle, as in the helmet would be consistent, the kind of armor. But what I find fascinating about this coin is the Roman soldier there. Look at him. If you remember any movies or documentaries about the Roman legionary, you will remember he's typically this guy with either chainmail but generally plate armor, a very big rectangular shield called the scutum, and he uses a sword called the gladius. This is clearly not the case here. We have an oval shield and a spear, so what is going on here? So some numismatists, and I am among them, argue that what we see here is a comitatensis, the late Roman infantryman who used a different equipment to the legionary we all know and love. This soldier, part of the mobile armies that would move around the empire, crushing any invasion, would typically wear a chainmail, simpler to maintain than the complicated plate armor, the lorica segmentata, of the imperial legionaries. Many would wear plumed helmets, which is also depicted on our coin. The rectangular scutum was replaced with a traditional oval shield, simpler to make, maintain, and better suited for looser formations, and they would also use a spear instead of a sword, also cheaper to make and maintain. I love to see how here we have a visual testimony of the evolution of the Roman soldier throughout the centuries. As with all late Roman coins, the lower part of the reverse, the exergue, features a series of letters which indicate the mint where this coin was made. In this case, we have the letters S, M, N, A, which stand for Sacra Moneta Nicomedia Alpha, so the first blessed mint of the city of Nicomedia. This type of design carried on being used for many years and for the rest of the Constantinian dynasty. As time passed, the coins became smaller and smaller as debasement and inflation once again crept in and destroyed the coinage. So the combination of debasement, massive issue of coins, and the sheer number of years this kind of coin was struck means this is among some of the most common reverses on all of the late Roman coins available to us today. So, summing it up, if you are looking for an affordable piece which depicts how incredibly violent the late Roman Empire and late antiquity in general were, as well as a visual representation on how the late Roman soldier differed quite a lot from the legionary of the golden years of the empire, this is the coin you need to add to your collection. So I hope you all enjoyed it, pick up a fallen Horseman coin, and if you liked the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Happy collecting, and I'll see you soon.